In today's video, we're going to be talking about Star Citizen reaching $1 billion in funding, but still not being enough. 007 First Light has hit in a delay, unfortunately, and how Sandfall Interactive confirmed that the AI stuff that they used were not actually in the game. It was not test holded, placeholder elements that they were testing, and they just forgot that they were in there and they weren't properly replaced, which I think is okay, similar to the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff that happened with the AI stuff, and Sandfall being Expeditions 33. My name is the Technojelly. Please hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. I do these videos on Mondays, so if you like to see what's happening in the video game or tech industry world, come over here on Monday. Hit the notification bell if you like to be notified about these videos going out. Now let's get right into the video. So starting with the fact that Star Citizen is now reaching $1 billion in funding, and the strange and sad part is that, well, first of all, this isn't $1 billion in like this year. It's $1 billion in its whole lifespan, which has been a long time, to be fair, but most games don't get to $1 billion in terms of budget, and it's crazy to me that every time I see Starfield in any kind of way, the game just doesn't look finished, and it doesn't look even close to being 1.0, even though apparently 1.0 is coming in 2027 or 2028. But it just feels like this game just is one of those style of games that it's going to be forever early access, but like in the bad way. Like technically there are games that were forever in early access that eventually made it out and are pretty good. Like Rust was an alpha or beta technically for so long, and then when they finally came out, everyone was like, yeah, Rust is a much better game now than it was early on. But it feels like this one is just forever early access because they're too scared to release it, and the game's progress in terms of how long the development has taken is done. And maybe it's because of bad management or something like that, because like some of the things that they continue having problems with is kind of crazy. Like the microtransactions that are basically funding the game now are some of the most expensive microtransactions I've ever seen. And the fact that it's been 13 years and the game still isn't 1.0. Now, don't get me wrong, the game has had a lot of updates, but the fact is that there are ships you can buy that you can't use, first of all, in the game sometimes. And some of the stuff is just like really sad to see, and it feels like at this point it's just almost like an abusive relationship to the game and its players. Like it's the sunk cost fallacy of like gambling addiction. They've put too much in for it to not succeed, so now people keep putting money in because the game has to come out now. And the amount of money that they've raised and probably spent is crazy to me, because once again, $1 billion. Most games don't even get to the hundreds of millions of dollars in terms of funding or even have backing at all. And this is $1 billion over 13 years. So this is a lot of money. Like, don't get me wrong, $1 billion is a lot of money, but this is a lot of money for a small studio. Well, actually, I actually don't know how big the studio is. So that could be that's a mistake on my part. Like, but on this studio, still working on it, it's crazy. And I can't believe that it's taken this long in order for them to just do anything. And I do hope eventually that it comes out. I do hope so. But the problem is after 13 years, it's similar to games like Duke Nukem Forever, because no matter what the game actually is, it could be a pretty decent game, but it's not going to reach 13 years amount of hype and anticipation for a game. There has been, of course, like playtests and stuff like that and alpha access, but 13 years is a long time for people to build up what they want this game to be in their head. And it's just not going to be that. It's unrealistic. And I do slightly feel bad for the devs, but they have dug their own hole and kept digging. And then obviously the media itself, like PC Gamer, they're guilty of this as well, talking about the microtransactions and how crazy and stupid it is. And I've talked about it as well, I'm pretty sure. So like we're all sort of to blame, but overall, it has taken them 13 years to make this game. So in the end of it, if they just released the game earlier, we wouldn't be like this maybe, but I guess it's a wait and see still. It's crazy to say 13 years is not enough, but I guess it's 13 years and $1 billion is not enough. We have to wait, and potentially people have to keep giving them money. So I guess that's the only real question is, will people still continue? I'm going to guess yes, but let me know what you think about it in the comments down below. If you think people are still going to give money, I think so, but we'll see. Secondly, the 007 game, 007 First Light, is officially delayed for 2 months, and they had an official statement on Twitter and some other sites as well on their official account, and they were talking about that it's their most ambitious project to date. Teams been fully focused on delivering an unforgettable James Bond experience, which is pretty cool because this is the first James Bond game in a long time, in like almost a full decade, the last time I checked. Because the last 007 game I personally played was on the Wii, funny enough. And I did enjoy it, don't get me wrong, but it did feel weird that James Bond kind of disappeared from video games for a long time. Like, it's weird to say, but like GoldenEye from the N64 is still kind of James Bond's most noticeable video game. And that was so long ago. And there were games after GoldenEye, don't get me wrong, but most people just remember GoldenEye. And I feel like there has been a hole for James Bond style games because basically only Hitman went into that niche of style of game. And it's still not really truly what that is. Because, I mean, honestly, what 007, the first light, most likely is going to be, I mean, they talk about it, break breathtaking action, globe-trotting, spycraft, gadgets, car chases, and more. 007 is an open world RPG where you don't necessarily get better as 007, but you get access to cool new things. So like perks and like it has the DNA of an RPG or an unlockable RPG, like a Metroidvania style Zelda-like game where you don't necessarily get better stats with like Link, but you get better equipment. That's basically what 007 is. That's what James Bond is. He gets cool gadgets and you get to use those cool gadgets in missions. Like the movies are literally that. So I feel like it's weird that it's taken this long, and I really do hope this game is good. The delay is slightly worrying, but it is only by 2 months from to May 27th, 2026. And they say it's to further polish the game and refine the experience, which I do believe them in the short term at least. Because if the game comes out next year and it's a mess, we know that they were trying to crunch as much as possible in these 2 months. But it's going to be more of a wait and see because we really don't know a lot about it. And there hasn't been a lot of gameplay. One of the worrying things for me is that everything we've seen of 007 First Light isn't really gameplay. Like, it kind of is. Some of the stuff is in-engine cutscenes and CGI stuff. So we haven't really seen raw gameplay of the game, at least from what I've seen. And I've done research and I've looked at the game. I've seen the trailers. And like, I'm generally more informed than the average person just like looking at Twitter or looking at Reddit and stuff like that. At least I'd like to think so, because I actively look for this stuff. So if I haven't seen gameplay, then I don't know if there actually is gameplay out there from a cursory glance and looking through it. So it does feel like they're kind of being a little closed doory with this type of game. Now, to be fair, it is 007. It's James Bond. So maybe it could just be IP rights. And they're like, no, you can't show anything right now. Like, you can't do this. You can't do that. Like, they are fighting with an IP holder, right? So it makes sense. Games like this, generally, you can't really mess around with it. So it kind of makes sense. But I don't want to, like, hit the panic button right now. But it is weird that it is delayed without any real gameplay being shown. So it's one of those things. And people are just sick and tired of games getting announced and then, you know, delayed and delayed and delayed. It is one of those things where this has to be a management problem at this point. Like, the games industry is announce a game and then 5 years later it's still not ready. Like, guys, you need to these timelines need to fit better, or just stop announcing games when they're not ready. Now, I hope this is not a case of this, and I hope it is actually, no, we just need a couple more months of polish. We're a little ambitious. We just need a couple months. That's totally fine. I don't mind that. But some of the other games are like, oh yeah, we're going to delay it for a year. It's like GTA 6. It's like, guys, why did you even announce the date when you kept delaying the game over and over again? Like, you didn't need to do anything like that. Like, you don't need to market it, honestly. But we'll see. We'll see. And finally, let's talk about Expeditions 33. Once again, specifically Sanafall Interaction, which is the company for, not company, I guess they are a company, developers for Expeditions 33. And I do have to say, this is from a article that has been translated into English, and I found it on Twitter by the user of God Emperors of Mankind, or Nehru. And I unfortunately couldn't find this article like in its original thing, so I'm just going to use this tweet. So I am kind of going off of this person's screenshots of the article because I can't find it anywhere, which is strange. It's probably because it's in French and I just can't find it, unfortunately. So I'll link the Twitter user instead of the actual article, because they do seem to do at least they have screenshots of it. So the problem people have had with Expedition 33 is that after it won all the Game Awards stuff and it won a bunch of games, people realized that there was this texture on a pole somewhere that was AI generated. And people had a lot of problems with that. They lost the Indie Game of the Year award from the Indie Game Show, not the Game Awards, a different show. And things were taken down because, like, oh, they used AI assets to make this game. And basically, Sandfall publicly said, we technically, yes, we did use some generative AI assist tools. But basically, when they made the game in 2022, the first AI tools in Unreal became available, and some members experimented them with generating temporary placeholder textures. And basically, all those placeholder textures were removed because some of them had been missed during the quality assurance process. Now they are a small team, so that I do believe. And so they're saying, hey, we did use these tools in 2022 for placeholder textures, but all the things that are in the game, the final versions of all the assets are human made, and that's what happened. So it's very similar, honestly, to the Baldur's Gate 3 stuff that happened, where they said, oh yeah, we use generative AI for concept things, but the actual in-game assets are human made. It's slightly worse because it's placeholder textures, so it's slightly different, but for the most part it's like, oh yeah, they use these in-engine Unreal Engine marketplace stuff for the placeholder textures. And I do want to say the fact that everyone's flipping tables and everything like that over placeholder textures is kind of crazy, because like no one is selling placeholder stuff from what I know. Like, don't get me wrong, there are early, like, you can buy an asset and then make it your own. That I'm not saying is, that is used everywhere. But like placeholder stuff and beginning assets, I consider them two different things. At least for me personally. Placeholders, you're never changing the placeholder. Or like you're never, like, the placeholder is never going to be, like, there is a chance that the placeholder looks literally nothing. It could be just a gray box for all we know, right? And so the placeholder text were just there. It's like, okay, this is like, because the thing that was found, like, it was a random newspaper thing on a pole. It wasn't even like a major asset. It's like, yeah, they missed this because it's a nothing asset. Like, it's a random thing. It's a random newspaper on a pole. Now, I don't know if they found more, but that's the one I know of. So people saying that this game is an AI generated game is crazy, first of all. And it's just kind of crazy that people are making this big of a deal of something like that. And I feel bad for the Indie Game Awards, because this is a separate award show, and they took away the award from Expedition 33 saying, oh, we have a zero tolerance AI policy thing. And I'm like, everyone's saying, yeah, we agree with that, but like, this was a mistake, obviously, and they fixed the mistake. It's slightly strange to just have this cutthroat thing for them. And to be fair, I didn't even know this award show really was a thing. Like, I knew of them, but I never really paid that much attention, honestly, because other than like most award shows, people really only care about the Game Awards for the most part. There are other award shows, don't get me wrong, that people care about, but like the Indie Game Awards show or whatever it's called, I don't even know the full name, honestly. So it's really weird that it is strange, because they briefly used AI tools in 2022, experimented with them, and they're like, these placeholder textures are fine, I guess. And then just never used it again, and then forgot that they had them in this random place. And then immediately they said, oh, we're sorry, changed it within 5 days, removed all the stuff, placed the correct textures. Because like, it's not like they made textures. They had the correct textures already. They just didn't realize they hadn't implemented them or something like that. Because I mean, I guess you could make new textures within 5 days, but it is interesting that they fixed it very easily. It wasn't like a big deal, because they're like, oh, we're sorry, those aren't supposed to be there. And like, placeholder assets are always in finished games. Like, there's so many instances of where there's like, this wasn't supposed to be here, or you're not supposed to see that, especially in indie games, because quality assurance, once again, isn't as thorough. Like, you're not having years and years and years of testing like some AAA games. Even in like big AAA games, there's tons of things that get missed, because once again, ironically, it's a human thing to overlook something that you don't think matters, right? because it was such a little impact on them that they just forgot it was there. And I feel like this should have just been that. Like people are like, oh, we're sorry. And they're like, oh, we're sorry. And then people moved on. But no, like, wow, this was blown out of proportion, even more so than I would say Baldur's Gate 3. Nah, about the same, honestly, because it's crazy to me that they lost awards and stuff like that because of this. And I feel bad for any employee of the award show because, man, I don't know if this award show has any respect left for a lot of people. Because, I mean, when you're running a small award show to begin with, you need people's loyalty and support. And I don't know if this is winning any favors for them, but I guess we'll see in the long term. Thank you everyone for watching today's video. I really appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do these types of videos on Mondays, and so hit that notification bell so you get notified on Monday. I really appreciate it. On Fridays, I also do more opinionated. I guess that's everything I do is opinionated, don't get me wrong, but it's opinionated one topic video essays. If you like to check those out, those happen on Fridays, as well as some other interesting types of videos I do on Fridays as well. If you'd like to support me directly, please go to my Patreon at patreon.com/thetechnojelly. Please go over there. You join all of these nice people in the credits, as well as a once a month live stream that we can hang out together, chat, have fun, play games, all that good stuff. And if you would like to follow me on other platforms, I have a Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Blue Sky, and Threads. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Goodbye, everyone.